The seventh presenter is Zhao Zi Ying. Their choice is Theme 1. Please start.
Good afternoon, everyone. I have a question for you. Do you think fake news has become a serious problem these days? This is one of the questions in my survey that I asked 100 people each from Japan and America. They are all university students, and let's take a look at the results. If you look at these pie charts, you will immediately find out the clear difference between these two countries. The biggest segment of the American pie chart is the percentage of people who strongly agree and agree. On the other hand, it is obvious that more people in Japan don't seem to care about this problem. Why is that? One of the reasons for this is because news literacy is still not widely known in Japan. While fact-check, Checkology, and many more projects have already been playing a big role in news literacy education in Western countries, Japan is pretty much behind in news literacy education, which leads us to have low awareness of this serious social problem that we have right now. And lots of us don't know or didn't know the fact that fake news has always been around us until the rise of social media has been causing rapid spreading of fake news. So how can we improve this situation? Today, I'd like to present my fun educational program to improve the news literacy project mostly for children, which is using educational comics. In other words, using online news literacy comics. For today's presentation, first I will talk about what is online news literacy comics, and second, where and how can we let children use it. First, I will start by explaining how exactly some of the advantages of educational comics can be connected to the contents of news literacy comics. This online news literacy comics can be divided into two parts: basic information and history. Not only inputting information by reading, but also each topic includes question games and comment section where you can output what you've learned and check your understanding. Basic information teaches readers basic or specific words and information for news literacy. This sounds like textbooks, but comics are structured in a way that makes it fun for kids to learn, while the visual cues can help children decode unfamiliar vocabularies and memorize them quickly. For example, one of the most important things we must know is the system that provides us information. Where does the information come from? How do newsrooms work? But not all the schools can make an opportunity to take students to go on a newsroom trip or invite journalists to have a talk show. However, comics can take you anywhere, which is another advantage that educational comics has as well. I visited my elementary school library to see if I could find any educational comics about it. And I actually found these comics about multimedia among more than 500 educational comic books. But they are very old and they definitely need to be updated. I also found out how much students love to read these educational comics, especially history, which is the content this online news literacy has as well. The second part of the contents, which I think is the most important, is history. Like I mentioned in the beginning, if we don't know the damages caused by fake news, we also don't know how serious the problem is and how our real life can be affected. To raise our awareness of this serious social problem, we must learn from the consequences of fake news in the past. A combination of text and images let children make inferences and synthesize information. Moreover, visual storytelling makes it easier to imagine and see yourself in the story. So I'd like to show an example. Since it's just an example, I made it brief and very short. So please imagine you are a junior high school student. The topic is about fake lying on the loose tweet after earthquake. On April 14th, year 2016, around 10 p.m., huge earthquake occurred in Kumamoto Prefecture. About 30 minutes after the earthquake, one picture of lion walking on the street with a message that, "Kumamoto, there's a lion on the loose near my house because of the earthquake," was posted. And this tweet was retweeted at least 20,000 times in an hour. So who and why do you think posted this? 20-year-old man who was a resident of Kanagawa Prefecture posted it with no other purpose, but he just wanted to shock people who saw this tweet. And what do you think happened next? This man was arrested for fraudulent obstruction of business. Kumamoto Zoo and Botanical Gardens received more than 100 phone inquiries from frightened residents. I hope you got an idea of why sharing this kind of story is important. You or anyone could have been this man or one of the victims of this fake tweet. Now you realize consequences of this fake news or fake tweet can be more serious than you could have ever imagined. At the end of each story, there are comment sections and question games where you can discuss it with other users. Next, I'd like to talk about the usage of this online news literacy comics to teach children at school in Japan. My idea is to introduce this online news literacy comics as into the ICT support system. Ministry of Education set a goal to have at least one ICT support staff who is in charge of 4 elementary or junior high schools by 2022. These staff are responsible for maintenance ICT education environment and assisting teachers and students with ICT education program, which of course includes media literacy. So why not use this online news literacy comics as one of the materials of teaching students about news and media literacy? I interviewed my junior high school math teacher, who is currently responsible for ICT program. He claimed that as much as they would love to give a proper literacy education to students, but the reality is all teachers have tight schedule 24/7, and it's almost impossible to take care of extra classes or extra works. The teacher loved my idea, and I also think this is quite realistic way to provide media and news literacy, since e-learning is part of Japanese education now. To end my presentation, I will sum up our main points. Educational comics can help children's reading comprehension, such as understanding unfamiliar vocabularies and contents. It makes it possible to get children interested in the topic, even if they're not really willing to learn. It is also effective to let them imagine themselves in the story so that they will get the seriousness of the matter. Question games and comment section will train their way of handling all this information on the web. Lastly, incorporating the use of this online news literacy comics to the ICT support system so that teachers don't have to carry an extra burden. I want all children to be aware of the seriousness of this social problem caused by lack of news literacy. I want all children to be interested in the topic, think deeply about it, talk about it with friends, and become a better information center to build a better web world. I believe that this online news literacy comics can give a fun and proper education to all children who are going to be thrown into a flood of information in their near future, so that they will make the right decision to stand up for truth. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Now let's have question and answers from the judges.
Thank you very much for the interesting presentation. I think it's a great idea using comics and the structure as well. But who would be making this, and who, you said students and children, but when do you think is the best timing in terms of grade or year, and how long should the program be? How should it be carried out in reality? Thank you.
Thank you for your question. So, from local print news organizations to top journalists, maybe experts, we can ask all these people to be partner with us and make contents together. And so there's a survey from last year. So the majority number of students in 5th grade and 6th grade in elementary school starts to have their own mobile phones. So it will be third grade or 4th grade, like before they have their own devices and to learn the news literacy is the best timing for them, I think. Thank you.
And now from our second judge.
Thank you very much. As a journalist, I like the idea of linking news and comics. I think it matches much of what news is today. I'm curious, you say there's less concern about fake news in Japan. Do you think that's because there is less fake news here? Is it less of a problem than it is in the United States?
Personally, I think it's not that Japan doesn't have as much fake news as American country. It's just, I think, let's think like this. We have drug education in elementary school before we even know about dangerous drugs, like before we use drugs. But we have to study about it to know the consequences of using after those dangerous drugs. So same like that, because we don't have news literacy education before we use these devices, that's why we don't know about the existence of fake news and even the word fake news. So that's my thought. Is it enough for you?
Yes, interesting. Do you think this is a broader problem than just fake news stories or the ability to use social media properly?
It's definitely ability to use these devices, like the skills to classify informations and identifying those dangerousness in the web world. I think that's a problem now.
Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you. That's all that we have time for now, so thank you very much, Zhao Ziying, and thank you, judges. Wonderful presentation.
ありがとうございました。